accompanied by his wife Tammy and his daughter Kristen. Please stand to welcome back to Episcopal Colonel Nick Morano.
Well, thank you and good morning. Please take your seats. Well, good morning, everyone, and what a pleasure it is to be here with you today, and especially to enjoy some of the fantastic Beat Haverford haircuts that I see here. So give yourselves a hand, everyone who has one. I'd like to thank both Reverend Squire as well as the head of school, Ham Clark, for that wonderful introduction and for the invitation to come speak with you this morning as we honor our nation's veterans and the sacrifices that they have made. I'd also like to welcome back to EA my fellow classmates from 1980. As you heard, we tragically lost two dear friends this past year, Jay Hilberts and Phil Trimble, and we hold them and their families close in our hearts and prayers. Before I get started, I really have to tell you how lucky you all are to attend one of the finest schools in the country, staffed with great teachers and located on this beautiful campus. As a graduate from the Marion campus, I truly feel cheated. Last January, Tammy and I attended a Southern California alumni reception up in Santa Monica, and we had an opportunity to meet with other alumni, share stories, and get a great update from the head of school, who also asked me if I'd be interested in coming back here today for this chapel ceremony. How ironic, I thought to myself. Speak at chapel. I used to cut chapel. Just kidding, really. It's fitting that we're also here in Philadelphia area for this Veterans Day. Today marks the 236th anniversary of the founding of the United States Marine Corps at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia. On November 10th, 1775, a joint resolution of the Continental Congress authorized the raising of 2 battalions of Marines. However, General George Washington decided that he needed more soldiers for the Continental Army, so the Marines only got 1 battalion, and the first inter-service rivalry was also born on that day. I've been asked many times why I joined the Marines, and I hope to answer that to you today within the theme for your year of Be the Change You Want to Be. In my case, I wanted to serve my country. I also wanted the challenge, adventure, and discipline of being a Marine. I was ready to enlist. My English teacher, mentor, and EA legend, Mr. Greenwood, talked me into going to college and becoming an officer. I owe that and so much more to him, and have never had the opportunity to say thanks. I thought being a Marine would change my life, and it has. And in the process, I have helped change the course of literally thousands of other lives. A Marine officer is part teacher, coach, and father, and I have been fortunate in leading some of the finest American citizens. I have learned at least as much from them as they did from I. I think about brave heroes like Brent and Derek Zuha, 2 young brothers in my mortar platoon in 2006, and not much older than the seniors in this room. They were extremely close and begged me not to separate them as we deployed to Iraq. As it would happen, their patrol was attacked one day, and Brent, the younger brother, was killed. His older brother, Derek, pulled him from the Humvee that he was riding in. As I arrived on the scene, I decided that Derek was going to go home with his brother and would not return. He pleaded with me to reconsider, and although he grieved for his brother, he could not bear leaving his fellow Marines. I never did reconsider, and later, when I met their mother, she was grateful to have had Derek at home with her. I have also been, in effect, the military governor of a large chunk of Al-Anbar province in western Iraq and helped change the lives of literally hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. And in the process, we jump-started what has become known as the Anbar Awakening and turned the tide of battle in that war. We spent countless hours working with local sheiks to solve their problems and build trust. Our emergency room physician, Navy Lieutenant Commander Tara Johnson, was as fearless and as dedicated as any of my Marine infantrymen. She spent countless hours on the same dangerous roads and in the same villages as did the Marines. In an area that had never heard of or seen a female doctor or heard of prenatal care, Tara did more to help end the insurgency and build trust than all of the raids we together did. I am currently the mayor and city manager of the Corps' largest base, home to almost 45,000 active duty Marines and over 20,000 family members. You can believe that I lead change every day. True change, however, begins within. None of us should ever go to bed as stupid as we were when we woke up. What did we do well today? Do more of that. What did we not do so well? Change that. Marcus Tullius Cicero said that to be ignorant of what occurred before you were born is to remain always a child. For what is the worth of human life unless it is woven into the life of our ancestors by the records of history? 2011 marks the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor and the 10th anniversary of the attacks on September 11th. 10 years ago this September, 4 commercial aircraft took off from Boston, Newark, and Washington. Took off fully loaded with men, women, and children, all of them innocent, and all of them about to die. Those aircraft were targeted at the World Trade Towers in New York, the Pentagon, and likely the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. 3 found their mark. No American alive old enough to remember will ever forget exactly where they were at the moment they watched those aircraft dive into the World Trade Towers on what was then a beautiful morning in New York City. Within the hour, 3,000 blameless human beings would die in the most horrible ways imaginable. We soon learned hundreds more were murdered at the Pentagon and in a Pennsylvania farmer's field. Once those buildings had collapsed and the immensity of the attack had begun to register, most of us had no idea what to do or where to turn. As a nation, we were scared like we had not been scared for generations. Parents hugged their children to gain as much as to give comfort. Strangers embraced in the streets, stunned and crying on one another's shoulders, seeking solace as much as to give it. Instantaneously, American patriotism soared not as the last refuge, as our national cynical class would say, but in the darkest times, Americans seek refuge in family and in country, remembering that strong men and women have always stepped forward to protect the nation when the need was dire, and it was so god-awful dire that day, and it remains so to this day. There was, however, a small segment of America that made very different choices that day. Actions that the rest of America stood in awe of on 9/11 and in every day since. The first were firefighters and police. Their ranks decimated that day as they ran